Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. This is Renegade Rousey, and this is the Left Hook Boxing Show. And I know a lot of folks out there have been doing videos on what boxing means to them, so I thought I would do a video as well. I really enjoyed watching those videos. Everybody did a great job, and I love the boxing community we have here at YouTube. But boxing to me, I didn't follow boxing for many years. I watched it when I was a kid a lot. And then when all the fights, a lot of them became pay-per-view, then I didn't watch it. But as life went on and sometimes life got difficult for me, I found in watching boxing that it gave me the energy, it gave me the motivation, it gave me the strategy to deal with life in general, because I think life mimics boxing in many ways. And I'll give you some examples of that. In the Pacquiao-Hatton fight, I learned that if you train hard, and if you have a good game plan, and then if you come out and execute that plan, well, you might just knock your opponent down in the first round, and you might knock him out in the second round. And that's what I learned from watching that fight. And then we had the great fight this year between Marquez and Diaz, and I learned in this fight that, hey, sometimes the young fighter will come out with all this energy, but if you're a veteran and if you trained hard as well, and if you use your skill, and if you're patient, he may back you up. The young fighter may back you up against the ropes on occasion. Well, you cover up and you take his shots, but then you fight yourself out of that corner. And then your will to win, if it's strong, will prevail in the late rounds. And, like I say, boxing mimics life. And I run into these situations, and I'll give you one. I like to run. And behind my house here, I have a trail, and I run about 5 miles on most days, except for when I work late. And I was out running not too long ago, a few weeks ago, and this young kid, probably high school age, comes running, and he passes me up. Now, it's a young kid, probably 19 years old, got his shirt off, nice tan body, rippled abs, got the six-pack going. And hey, I'm 44 years old, and I don't run without my shirt on because it ain't too pretty. And I don't have a six-pack. The only six-pack I have is sitting in my refrigerator. But just because I've got a beer gut doesn't mean that I can't run. And it doesn't mean that when some young buck passes me up that it won't stir up a competitive fire. So, hey, this guy passes me up and he runs out in front of me a good amount of yards. But I think back to Marquez and Diaz. And I know that sometimes the young buck comes out strong. But if you keep applying the pressure, you stick to the game plan, and you keep fighting, and you keep giving it your best, well, a little ways down the road, you start catching up. And then, as I was running down this trail, this kid looks back. Oh, and when he looks back, that's the sign of weakness, man. You know it. And just like in the boxing ring, when you see a fighter sense that weakness, and they come out and they start attacking. Well, that's what I did, man. I see the guy turn his head back. And, oh, that gave me a jolt of energy, man. And I started running harder. And before you know it, I'm passing him. And he stopped underneath the bridge because he burned himself out. So what happens in the boxing ring also happens in life sometimes, and it's with that strategy. From watching boxing, you get some strategies to deal with life. And I also learned, hey, watching Tim Bradley and Nate Campbell recently, that young buck, man, if he comes in and he's hungry, well, you better be hungry. If you're the old guy, you better be hungry as well, or he will win the victory. And also learned from watching that Tim Bradley Nate Campbell fight that sometimes, there's a referee in the ring there with you. And he's supposed to keep everything fair, but sometimes he don't see it all. And sometimes, just like in life, there's injustice. And when something like that happens, well, man, you just have to deal with it. You have to fight on. Now another thing, like I say, I wasn't following boxing as much when Arturo Gatti was fighting, and but after his death, ESPN played the Arturo Gatti Mickey Ward trilogy, and if you haven't seen that trilogy, that is just some great fights. And when that came on, me and the wife sit down and watched that, and I watched it pretty much. I'm watching it, and I'm not really believing what I'm seeing. These two guys showing the hearts of lions, going out, just battling it out. And by the end of that third fight, the wife is all curled up next to me, and I'll be honest with you, there's a little moisture starting to form in my eyes, and I'm thinking I'm watching. It's like I'm watching a chick flick or something with my wife, but it's a boxing match. It's that emotional. It's that powerful when you watch human beings in a ring battle and do adversity. But the one thing I learned from that fight is that, sometimes you get hurt. There's that saying, thrill of victory, agony of defeat, but sometimes there is agony in victory as well, and sometimes you get hurt. And I think he broke his hand in the second fight, and I think in that third fight, in the fourth round, I don't know if it was definitive that he actually did it, but there's no doubt that Gatti hurt his hand severely in that third fight. And he said, I broke my hand. He went to his corner, and he said, I broke my hand. And the trainer says, well, Arturo, what do you want me to do? And he said, basically, Gatti said, well, I'm going to fight on. And I'm like, what? The guy broke his hand, he's going to fight on? You got to be kidding me. If you're a boxer, you can't keep fighting with a broken right hand, man. But I found out from Gatti that yes, you can. That you may be hurt, but you fight on. And you find a way to win. If your right hand is broken, well, then you double up with your left hand. That's what you do, and you can still win if your will is strong enough. I found that out by watching that fight. And those were good fights. I loved them. And still though, I think for me the greatest fight that I've seen is the Diego Corrales Castillo fight. And in that 10th round, I found out that you simply never give up. Corrales gets knocked down twice in that fight. And sometimes when you're fighting, boom, you get knocked down. In life is the same way. You get knocked down, and you don't just automatically pop up. You take a knee, and you think about things for a while. And then you get back up, and you may get knocked down again. And then at that point, things are looking bleak, and you get on your knee, and maybe you throw your mouthpiece out to help you buy a little time, because at that point, you're down on the scorecards, and an extra point really doesn't matter. You've got to score the knockout, and you're hurt, your eyes swollen, and you've got to think whether or not you want to get up or you want to just call it quits. Nobody blame you at that point, and maybe you live to fight another day. But this is what I found out, if you believe in yourself, if you believe you can do it, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter that nobody else thinks at that point that you can pull out the victory. Probably your own corner doesn't even believe that you can pull up the victory. But if you believe it, if you believe in yourself, well, you go ahead and get up. You get up like Corrales did, because you never know. If you believe in yourself and you're down the scorecards, you can still pull out that left hook, and you can win the fight. And you can hear the announcer say those great words, "This fight is over." And you can hear Michael Buffer or some other announcer say, "And the new champion of the world, Renegade Rousey." Oh, doesn't that sound good? Doesn't that sound good? To win the victory, to hear that. There's probably no greater feeling than to be in a boxing ring. And when it's all said and done, here, the champion of the world. And that can happen in boxing. It can happen in life, no matter what field you're in. You can, if you have the mind of a fighter, then you can come out victorious. And that's why I freaking love boxing. This is Renegade. I'm out, and I love boxing. Until next time.